The finances, that's it. Here we are.
So we'll call to order the Monday, July 27th meeting of the Finance Committee. And you've all received copies of the financials for June.
Yep.
And I wonder, Patty and Steve, whether you'd like to run over those and give us a sense of what you think are significant numbers on them.
Significant numbers. Oh, no, you can't do that. Under the bridge, the actual to budget, we're actually doing pretty well. Under salary and wages, we did not replace Troy Barr. And we have moved some of John's salary to the industrial park. So that's why both the salary and wages and payroll and taxes, part of why those two lines are smaller. The interest expense, we're under budget right now because of deferments of paying some of our loans, thankfully. And maintenance and bridge maintenance is mostly a timing expense, and straight maintenance expenses, we're just trying to keep expenses to the necessary items to keep on track with not having a huge amount of income.
You mentioned deferments of some of the debt obligations.
Yes.
I assume principal's deferred. Will interest accrue during the period?
Is interest deferring? Yes.
So payment of interest is deferring, but it will build, won't it?
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Makes
To
sense.
answer your question, yeah.
Okay.
And one thing that we have been doing, Kathy just finished a research project into the Verizon bills. We've found that some of our Verizon lines are no longer being used, and we're paying a monthly fee to have them.
Mhm.
So it's like, out you go.
Mhm.
And we have a new New York State contract that we can bring everybody under. And in some instances, it will save us $5 to $8 a month per line.
Yeah.
So we're looking at about $150 a month savings going forward on the Verizon. I mean, it's not a huge amount, but everything we can save is
Absolutely.
good to do.
Yeah.
Any questions then on the bridge? Okay, then we'll go, yes. We'll go to the Statement of Activities Port Fund before we do the budget to actual. And I realized that the number in other income under the airport was $160,000. Well, 150 of that belonged up in grant income, so I have moved it up there.
Mhm.
It's the Environmental Assessment Phase 1 Terminal Improvement Grant. So I moved that up there so it did not skew our other income number.
So the 11,000 would be,
It's 10,829 in other income.
is that from FBO operations pretty much?
It can be from airport and terminal, the apron and terminal.
Right.
Rapid. Salaries and wages, when you go down under general expenses under the airport, that 37,000 is airport security for our lovely police department, and what we pay MAPCO. The 12,000 under marine terminal is OMLC. And I found that it is the industrial park that is charged the solar fee, the monthly fee that we pay for solar. So it's the industrial park that tends to get the credit on National Grid because of the solar.
Mhm.
That's under utilities for industrial park?
Yes.
19.
Is that a pass-through?
A lot of that, you'll see the 74,000 in industrial park rental income. A good deal of that is probably offsetting, well, it's actually offsetting last month's utilities.
Okay, thank you.
And if we look at the budget to actual, while we were over conservative with toll booth income, we were not as conservative as we should have been for airport fuel sales and fare charges. So we came in well under budget because we left the budget a bit too high. The port wind turbine project, it's simply a timing situation. What is under the wind turbine project right now is health and welfare, equipment rentals, specialized equipment rentals. Those are the big ticket items under that. The grant, you'll see that's the grant, the FAA assessment grant. Other income, the year-to-date number for other income, one of the biggest items in there is the insurance proceeds from the Building 11 roof repair, and that, of course, will go with us all through the year. But that's $86,000 of the 200. And we have other things such as the apron and terminal income, we have port handling income, the railroad's annual invoice that brings into the 208. Now you'll see the CARES Act there, we got $139,000 in June, which brought our total year-to-date to $206,000. That's going a long way to help out.
Is there still a holdback there, or is that all the money? that was
We are
appropriated?
now current, but there was a holdback, we had anticipated 347 to come in. And what we found out that happened was the fellow who was approving our CARES Act grant was moved back to his original position. So there was nobody looking at these things for about 2.5 weeks. And we now have a young man named Jay Small. And Jay Small is our best friend. He got everything caught up and we've been paid everything. Our last invoice that went out for the CARES Act was to get reimbursed for MAPCO, and that was $93,000. We submitted it on a Tuesday, we had it on Friday. So while you've got somebody there, it's turning around very quickly and helping us out. If you look at the bottom of the page, you'll see that we'd be $149,000 in June to the negative, or $668,000 year-to-date to the negative without the CARES Act income. So it really is a great savings. Our expenses, we're just keeping a real handle on what we're spending. Some of it is timing, and some of it is just attempting to not spend money. Any questions on this? And about the other thing we have is the balance sheet, which unfortunately shows the cash in a rather dismal position. But we are keeping the best we can. We have 2 grants coming in from Siemens, or reimbursements coming in from Siemens in the next couple of days. So we are keeping up with that. If you look down at your accounts payable, we've brought that down from 1.2, it's now a flat million. We had made some payments today, we had hoped to bring it down to about 940, but we got invoices as quickly as we paid them off. So right now we're keeping it, we brought it down about $800,000 in 3 or 4 months. We're trying to keep it at least $1 million or lower if we can. As soon as some of this ship money comes in, we should have a little profit to play with. We did receive, we did move the money from one of the CARES Act reimbursements to Tompkins Financial because we were not in compliance at year end. We are back in compliance, so the auditors did send out the finalized audited statements. And in there it states at year end, we were not in compliance with Tompkins. Since then.
That's a
subsequent-
reserve account.
Yes, subsequent activity, we have repaid that, which turned around and got us a phone call from Tompkins saying, well, gee, next time you're flush with money, would you put a little bit on the line of credit?
Mm-hmm.
I said, yeah, when we're flush,
Right.
I'll put some on the line of credit. But, so we're good there with that. We're holding our own.
Patty, could you tell me, help me understand what goes into, on the statement of financial position,
Mhm.
under current liabilities, what goes into accrued expenses?
Due to New York State is $19 million on the bridge, 18 and change. So we'll round that up to 19.
And that's the original debt for Milford.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's been there all along.
Sure. And why does that show as a current liability as opposed to maybe a long
A
term?
long term? I don't know, it's always been considered a current.
Maybe they could call it at any minute.
They could.
Come and get it.
They want to pay for it.
There it is,
Well,
sitting right out there.
Send the repo man.
Yeah,
2 million of it approximately is your OPEB, your other pension,
post-pension.
post-employment benefits, that's it, other post-employment benefits. So that would be if we pay insurance for a retiree.
Yeah.
It's not the pension, but it's other things. And then we just have accrued salaries, vacation, and interest.
Well, those make sense, don't they?
Right, right.
Yeah.
And that will always be about 21 million, and then whatever else with the accruals that we normally have.
Yeah.
Steve, don't we every year ask for that debt on the bridge to be forgiven by New York State?
The payment on the debt, the exemption, 75,000, we have to justify it with some kind of cost.
Right, but have we formally asked?
Yes, I think we've got it. I don't remember.
I think we have it for this year, but to actually get the whole thing forgiven would be a lovely thing to do. I mean, it's, for the moment, it's paper, so it would, but it would show up very nicely on paper that it was gone.
I think the argument that we've been able to make is that the 75,000 can be better spent here rather than gone in a few seconds in Albany. You know, that was kind of what we were saying, more focused. And they've been in agreement, to my understanding.
Right. It's just, I don't know, we are a state authority, and I know others have their debt forgiven, so maybe we should formally make that, some project coming up in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Because it looks, it's quite a massive number on our financial statements, 19
And
million.
it shows up in the audit.
Right.
Any questions?
Yep, one, have we thought about, I know we did some stuff with financing there a while ago, so I just wondered if we could, at what point do you think we could revisit that? Probably not yet.
Not yet, I think,
Okay, just making sure.
No, we did knock on a number of doors,
Okay.
and thank, you know, for somebody, and I don't know if we knock again, but I do know things were just, I think our situation is better, but maybe not to the point of changing people's minds about refinancing some of our long-term debt.
Because I think we've done some good things. That's
Yeah,
why
and I think too, I've discovered a little bit more that, about some of that we can't improve, we can't really improve on, given, and Tompkins has been very good with us. I think I got the wrong impression about some of those things, and the more that I've gotten into it, it's in better shape than maybe I led everybody to believe when I first came in here.
Okay.
And this is such a changeable situation that we're in right now, that I wouldn't be surprised if financial institutions wanted to be a little cautious about any big changes now.
Mhm.
You know, maybe they want to wait 3 months or 4 months and find out what the whole environment is going to be.
Yeah, and given the border situation,
Yeah.
That's right.
That's like one of our number one, we
Yeah.
use that as an asset,
Mhm.
and that shut down. So that would be, wouldn't be in our favor right now.
Yeah,
I think depending upon how quick the country comes out of this, we may see more favorable rates next year anyway,
sure,
you know, just to get things going.
absolutely.
So, but I mean, Dave's got a good point, let's just keep an eye on it. If we could do something more favorable to our financials, we should definitely look at it.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think when you said, Chris, things have changed so much, who knows?
Mm.
And the comment that Tompkins made was, we'd like you to pay down some more, but you can turn around and take it back. But just prove to us that you can pay us something.
And that was a goal of ours, I kind of,
Yeah.
when we all talked about it, I think I talked with the chairman, we kind of in our mind thought with the CARES Act and the PPP that, and I think at the time, I don't know, we kind of thought maybe the border would be open by June
Yeah.
and things would get back into it, and we thought that would be one of our goals, was to show that we can repay those things, and it just these things get in our way, we just can't seem to get there, but it's still a goal of ours.
Mhm. Sam, do you have any more questions?
No, I'm good. Thank you for the explanation. I reviewed this before we got here a couple of days. I think I got it on Thursday or Friday, so thank you.
Mhm.
And to talk to you, the point that you made in the beginning about trying to keep this thing kind of a living and moving thing, other than we talked about our estimate, our estimates or our assumptions, so far, would it be fair to say we're pretty good
We're doing pretty
about our
well
assumptions
with our, yeah.
for this month? So I would say just under one group of how do we feel about it, we feel we kind of got our handle for now. And the next time we meet, that could be different, but we let you know what part of the budget or anything that's kind of gone one way or the other based on how we assumed our assumptions were, so that, I think your goal is to have a realistic every month and a good feel for that.
Well, I find it so challenging to predict what revenues are going to be, given that we don't know. And there's so many things that we don't know, and history is not going to be the guide the way that a stable economy and a stable situation might let it be. But let me ask Steve, will we have the wherewithal if the border stays closed through the end of the year?
I think it'll be a gradual slide. The one thing going for us is the Portland project, like we said, it's kind of shifted, so
Yes.
that kind of, we spread, let's say we got it all up front and where we are, we don't see anything in the future kind of pulling, but I would say that income will help, but I think there's gonna, if, for example, the border's not open until the end of the year,
Yeah.
I do see end of September, October, and where I don't see anything replacing that, you know, the airport takes care of it, that softens it, but on this side of things, there's nothing there unless we were to get some projects, you know, everything's kind of fixed in the park.
Mhm.
You're not gonna see, you know,
That's
all of a sudden, we have a limited amount of space. And
Yeah.
then, the only variable is a customer coming to the port and, you know, either with road salt, grain, or, something similar to those beer tanks or something like that, that would add a little bit to the bottom line. But not seeing that right now, that's kind of, I would say,
That's what we
end
are.
of September.
Mhm.
We're gonna be where we said when we wrote our letter to make the governor and Division of Budget aware of our situation.
Well, I think that that's the kind of thing that we need to do. It is very much not our wish to project problems for the authority. But I think that if we can see that continued border closing will create problems for the authority, then we need to let people know.
And I know,
We might be able to help.
and when we wrote our letter in late March, I could honestly tell you, I couldn't tell you the path that we've taken so far, how we've,
Sure.
with the PPP, CARES Act, just different things coming in, deferments and all of that. So the positive out of that is the governor's office has been with us every step of the way, and so is the Division of Budget. And they've made recommendations, and they've seen our finances in detail,
Mhm.
that they've been wandering with us to where, you know, say September comes along and we go, you know, what's next? Either maybe there's some help there, or they're saying, you did everything you could do, everybody's in this boat, and
That's
who
right.
knows what the climate or what it'll look like then.
And nationally, right now, there's a discussion of a new PPP program, and a new CARES, basically a new CARES Act. So, you know, there may be some federal aid that'll be of assistance, but that just requires that we continue to stay on our toes, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, they talked about the new normal, I guess, as difficult as it is, it's, I don't wanna say comfortable, but we realize that this is what it is, and
Yes,
we're
that's right.
just dealing with it.
That's right.
Yeah, I think when revenue starts coming in from the port project, we're gonna have to be very careful on how we use that. You know, any profit we get, need to look at not having additional revenue from the bridge or the airport until January, in my opinion.
Mhm.
So we just need to see if we can stretch it out, and like Steve said, you know, with our weekly discussions with Albany, let them know that, so that we're trying to reduce expenses as much as we can, following the plan that Steve mentioned. And we need adjustments from September to December, we'll just have to make them.
Yeah.
And one thing I would say too, to keep in mind, when this all started, we had no reserves, and we all know where they were spent, and then we had no cash, because of that, we had no cash flow. So, where you read about other authorities financially, they're spending that down, and to a point where they're gonna start worrying, but we don't have, but when we were talking with Dave there with, trying to find cash flow in a line of credit, we don't have that. If we had, something in our hip pocket to, like a bridge loan to the end of the year
Yep.
with credit line, and then worry about paying it back, fine. In some ways, that's good, because we don't get deeper, but the other way, it's not reassuring.
Sure. Well, Sam, I wonder whether or not there's any way to introduce our new board members, help bring them up to speed so that they'll have some understanding of what's going on.
I think, well, we meet on the eighth.
Six.
I'm sorry. What
You
was
keep
it?
saying
I have the
eighth.
eighth in my head. On
It's
August
okay,
sixth.
we'll be on the weekend.
I'm thinking of a hockey game.
Yeah,
And I think before then, Steve and I have talked about it, trying to get him in here for a tour and meeting with Patty and maybe give them some financial background on where we are. So they're not, coming into a meeting on the sixth, not knowing anything of what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So they have, a little bit of time before they're sitting here voting on matters, so.
Dave, do you have any sense of what would have been helpful if we had done anything more when you started on the board?
The tour is very helpful, right? I think is a big thing, and being shown around and being open about what's going on was great for me. And then quite frankly, that takes time.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, you get those numbers thrown at you and you look at it and you go and you scratch your head. I spent some time scratching my head
You bet.
still.
Yeah.
But that's probably, I mean, the last thing you want to do is scare people.
Yeah.
There's really nothing to be scared of, it's just, the board and the staff are focused, so.
That's right. That's right.
Luckily, there's four of us who've been here for years. So.
Mhm. Well, I think, Sam, that I didn't understand the committee system when I started. Maybe a little explanation of what the committees do might be a good part of the
I
orientation.
started on that. I'll send it to
Good.
you. So if you want, you can add to it.
Well, excellent.
But I put down on it that we're not changing the finance committee, just so you know. If you're thinking about getting off, forget it. It ain't happening.
Well, it seems to me as if this probably covers the business for the meeting. Is there anything else that we should discuss as a part of the meeting?
I don't have anything.
no.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
I would move.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye,
Aye.
thank you.
Okay, thank you.
That's one of the